welcome everyone to the 2017-18 school year. It's crazy that I'm saying that in July. It seems like we start things earlier every year. But I do appreciate you taking some time to come out, taking time out of your summer to be here. Although I must say it is nice to see some people back in the building. Schools in the summer always give me a little bit of that shiny vibe, and so it's nice to get people back here. Those empty hallways get a little scary. So first off, let me give a few introductions here, and then we'll get started. My name is Nate Werner, and I am so happy and blessed to be the new AD here at Appleton. I grew up in Appleton, graduated from Appleton West, but there was no north at the time, so please no booze. And in fact, where my house was, I would have gone to north had it been built at the time. Spent 16 years in the district as a teacher, then spent the last 4 years over at Nina High School as their associate principal and activities director. And when the job came open here, I just felt like there's no way I couldn't go for this job. This is, in my mind, a dream job to be at Appleton North and to be back home in Appleton. So, like I said, I'm just so happy to be here. A few other names and faces, and I know these screens are difficult to see. I know when Mr. Perling was here, he did things a little bit differently. I thought with my first year being brand new, we'd probably do one meeting, and as I'll explain to you, I will try to, you'll hear this a lot. Like your new AD, I'll try to keep it short tonight. I know that code meetings sometimes aren't the sexiest thing to hear about, but we'll try to make it as painless as possible. So, as you can see, I have introduced myself already. Karen Woldenberger is the business secretary. She was outside. I could not get, she doesn't Google well, and I couldn't get pictures off of the district website, so she will remain faceless for now. And I do have some older pictures. I know Coach Moriarty is very happy that I was able to find this gem on there. But Coach Fleck and Coach Moriarty are our strength coaches. They're right over here. So hopefully you know a lot of them. If you're new to Appleton North, you will be seeing them a lot, as you will, I'm sure, be spending quite a bit of time working with those coaches. Cassie Simmons, hopefully Cassie English, she got married over the summer. Let's hear it for Cassie. She is my licensed athletic trainer, and I can tell you that when I knew I was going to get the job over here, everyone was saying you got the best trainer in the business. So I know I'm very excited to work with Cassie. Dr. David Kuplik is our team physician. I don't know if he's here this evening, but I'm sure you'll be seeing him from time to time. And obviously we work with OSI quite a bit in terms of referrals, and Dr. Kuplik helps us out quite a bit. So just some introductions, and again, hopefully you'll be able to get a chance to meet a lot of these people over the next few years. All right, so the agenda is this. Like I said, I know that coming out on a hot summer night into packed into a gym sometimes isn't everyone's favorite thing. But the code meetings, what I can promise you is this: I'm not going to sit and read the code to you. Right? All of you got this, and I'm going to trust that that you go through it. But as I've learned in this job, sometimes it's like your insurance policy. You don't often look at it in case you need it, unless you need it. So, but I don't want to undermine the importance of the code of conduct. So I want to take some time to talk about that tonight, the philosophy behind it. Coach Fleck's going to talk to us a little bit. Then I wanted to at least just highlight some of the major changes in the code. The Board of Education did pass and accept a brand new code of conduct, and there are some changes from last year to this year. So if you are an upperclassman, there'll be some things that will be different. But again, if you do things the right way, I don't think that there's any worries about what's new in this code. But I'm going to highlight those for you, just so you're aware of what those changes are. And obviously, if there are any questions that arise at any point during the school year, you can always contact me, and I can walk you through those changes. Also wanted to spend some time going over what I just call the frequently asked questions of the activity zones. These are the types of phone calls we tend to get daily, so I thought if I spoke to those now, hopefully that would be able to answer some of those things. So I'm going to get a lot of taken care of right up there. Want to talk a little bit about social media? Can you not? Okay. I am so untechy, so good luck.
That's better.
That's definitely it's just me. Oh. All right. So, moving on. Then I do want to talk a little bit about the culture of Appleton North, and then Mr. Jay Trainer from the Appleton North Boosters Club is going to say a few words right at the end. He promised also to make his portion very short as well. So we'll get to Coach Black in just a minute, but I do want to just go over again some of the paperwork. This is the full code of conduct that you receive in the main office when you get all of the forms. And then tonight, I heard some people as they were coming in saying, "We've never had to do this before." I do have a signing form just so that I know who's been at the code meeting. So that when we have to do makeups, that I know who has been here, who hasn't. So it's just, I know it's a little bit paper and pencil and going back in time a little bit, but it just makes things a little bit easier for me. And then there was this form on players' health that I'll explain in just a little bit. So we'll get to all those, and then what's going to happen is when you leave, we will be getting some more pens, but if you could just fill these out, we'll have some baskets for you to throw these in, and then you will have fulfilled your code requirement for the year, and we'll make sure that those get entered for you. So that is the plan for this evening. So before we get to Coach Black, I just wanted to go over a little bit of the philosophy of the code. My son just graduated high school, and last April I was down at UW Oshkosh for his orientation day, and I will admit that I wasn't looking forward to it. I had to take a day off of work, and maybe like some of you tonight, it's just one of those things that you have to go to. So my wife would admit I probably didn't have the greatest attitude that day. But I will say that I took something away that I thought was very powerful from one of the speakers at that meeting. And what she said was, and she used a little bit different verbiage because obviously she was talking about a university, but she said, you know what, you can take a look at your experience and you can say, do I want to get a degree? In this case, I will say, do you want to get a diploma or do you want to get an education? And she explained, I said, well, what am I thinking, what do you mean by that? But she went on to explain, if you just get a degree or a diploma, that means that your high school experience is going to be dictated to you. Meaning, you have to have this many credits to graduate. You have to take 4 years of ELA in order to graduate. All those types of things. It's the hoops you have to jump through. However, if you're looking to get an education, you get to dictate what your high school experience is all about. And really that's what I think the code of conduct and what the purpose of co-curriculars is. Get you involved. I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because obviously anyone who's here does have children that are involved. And that's wonderful. I mean, you can cite all the studies that show that participation in extracurriculars is going to boost your grade point average. It's going to help you later in life. All those wonderful things that we know are true about co-curriculars. But this is really what it's all about. So when you look at a code meeting and the code of conduct, I've found in my experience that students and sometimes parents will often view the code in two different ways. You can either fear the code, meaning that this is the gotcha, something that's going to happen to me if I do something bad, right? And really I would like to, in my time here, hopefully get students out of that mindset that this is something that I have to fear, right? What I'd like to see is more of what I call respecting the code, meaning that this is going to become something that becomes a part of your own moral compass. This is the way that I want to choose to live my life, and I don't have to sit and fear the code, right? So, yes, there's going to be things that have consequences, but hopefully we'll get to a point where this is more about, this is the way that I want to use this tool, right? And it is a tool. It's a tool to help, hopefully you to make healthier decisions during your high school career, and also meant to be a buffer if you do need that excuse. You know what? I don't want to go to that party where there might be some things going on because I don't want to risk losing, my spot, and I don't want to hurt my teammates and my team. Right? So sometimes it's one of those things where you can use the code, right? It's that darn code, right? And if that's what you're going to use it for, that would be wonderful too. But again, we want to hopefully get you out of that mindset of this is something that I have to fear that's going to happen to me. So that's why we have this code of conduct. It's more, again, as a tool to help you throughout your high school career here at Appleton North. As the code says, participation is truly a privilege, it's not a right. So choosing to be a part of this and dictating that path in your high school career, does come with following the rules. As Coach Hagan, who was, the first, he was my teacher at Appleton West, the first VP that I worked for at Appleton North, just a legend in the district. What did he always say? You got to take care of business. Right? Coach Hagan, when you take care of business, things are going to happen, and they're going to take care of themselves. Right? So hopefully we get everybody into that mindset. So we're going to treat co-curriculars, athletics, activities, as an extension of the classroom. Right? This is not going to be treated like club sports. Right? You do need to follow these rules, and hopefully this is going to be something that is going to be a benefit to everyone. So that's the whole purpose of this, and I always get that question, why do we have to come to this meeting every year? Those are some of those reasons why. You need to, sometimes a little reminder of why those things are important. So, what I want to do now is introduce Coach Black, who's going to speak a little bit about the strength program and about some safety issues for the upcoming school year. So, Coach Kevin Black.
All right. I promise Coach Long will keep under 45 minutes. A couple minutes here. Just safety. We look at a weight room, there can be issues in the weight room, there can be issues on the field of practice. Some basics on safety. You look at nutrition. We'll have some kids that might have 4th hour lunch, and they'll eat from 4th hour, 10:30, 11 o'clock until they get home from their practice at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Okay, especially in August, or any high activities, we're going to make sure that the kids have snacks after school, snacks between classes, things like that. So talk a little about safety and nutrition, eating whole foods. Upstairs we do have a guideline, and there is a bulletin board and substances by the WIA that are restricted. So anything that you take, like especially if it's over-the-counter, GNC, anything like that, you make sure you check that out. You don't want to put your health in jeopardy, number one. Number two, your eligibility. Up in the weight room, safety-wise there, we're always, number one is safety informed. When the kids are ready, okay, then we start adding the weights. But never ever are we putting a bunch of weight on there and having the kids, go maxing out. And I think it's important to understand that there's a lot of misconceptions about the weight room. And we really encourage in-season, out-of-season training for the reason that it's part of safety. It's kind of like where you're driving down the road without a seatbelt on. Okay? It's a lot of the actions, a lot of the trauma that can happen in an athlete. If they're not trained, you don't stabilize the knees, you don't stabilize the hips, they're going to run into issues. You want a lot of balance between muscle groups. Other things with nutrition, hydration. Okay? I just went for a run 2 hours ago, which wasn't very wise. It is hot, it is humid out. Okay, you want to make sure you hydrate. But sometimes we're having practices, okay, we're outside, and you can really watch urine color. You can watch, okay, how much you're taking in during the day. Does anybody know how much liquids you should take in during the day? Any of my former students? What is it? All right, there you go. I'm a health teacher as well. Half your body weight in ounces. That's if you don't exercise. So, if you weigh 200 pounds, it's 100 ounces of positive liquids. We're not talking soda. We're not talking about mochaccino or anything like that, Starbucks. Good stuff. So, also looking at sleep, one thing that we're definitely working on is starting things later, especially in summer, pushing things back based on the research and the science of sleep, the importance of recovery. The brain research on the muscles, the tissue, and regeneration there. We're going to make sure we're getting about how many hours of sleep, kids? All right, that was a test question, 9.25. Okay, as if you're a freshman. Good job, Wes. So yeah, limiting your screen time before you go to bed, okay? Help the kids out with that, because sometimes it is an addictive thing. And so you're going to watch that there. Also, things are getting really specialized, and I worry about overtraining with kids. I worry about them doing too much, and that's one thing that we're trying to monitor. We don't know exactly every little thing that they're doing outside. Well, we have them at NASA, we have them in the weight room, they're at practice. So you have a better idea what that big scope is, and they need to listen to their bodies, and sometimes they don't know when to say no, okay? Especially during season, limit some of those other activities. So just some things on safety. My email is on the website, so if you ever have any questions or concerns, please contact me. So that's all I have.
All right, so I know this looks ominous, but I can honestly get through this pretty quickly. So as I mentioned to you, the Board of Education in Appleton did approve a brand new code of conduct. So a lot of the stuff is similar, but a few of the major changes that I felt were important to at least make you all aware of, since we'll be operating under this new code of conduct this particular school year. So I'm going to go over what do they consider to be the categories of co-curriculars, because now they categorize them in different forms. We'll go over the eligibility requirements. I'm just going to cover attendance and also the academic portion. There's also WIA rules, but I don't want to get into that tonight. If there's ever any eligibility related to WIA, all you have to do is call my office and I can walk you through that. We'll go over, and again, this is the part where I'm not going to read you the code. There are quite a few of the different types of violations and consequences, but what is new is the fact that they're now tiered, right? They now put them into different categories. So that is going to be something that is new, and again, it is all listed in here, and I would direct you to this if you have any questions on that. Talk a little bit about the AOD component, how I approach investigations, and then the appeals process. And I do want to point out, I tried to pull some pictures of the students. I think that's very important, them doing their thing and getting involved. But I did this once when I was at Lena High School, and somebody came up and like, why'd you put my picture on the one about the code violation? So I just want to point out, none of these pictures have anything to do, with the specific categories or anything that I'm talking about. They are simply pictures of our students participating in their particular sports or clubs or activities. So here we go. Okay, so the Appleton Area School District has now put co-curriculars into 4 categories. Right? The first one is for athletics or anything that's performance or competition based. So again, anytime that you're competing in anything, you would be considered being a part of a Category 1 co-curricular. Category 2 is leadership, public recognition. This would include if you're on homecoming board, student council, those types of things. So anytime you're in a leadership role or you are representing Appleton North out in public. All right? So that's Category 2. Category 3, music or other classes where you're doing some performances as part of the class grade and maybe out in public for that. And then Category 4 is intramurals and interest clubs. So the full code of conduct is only going to be governing categories 1 and 2. Right? Categories 3 and 4 are still you'll still be under the school handbook, right? Because it's a free-for-all, right? And obviously there will be advisory rules that will apply, but you're not going to be governed by this particular code. So I just wanted to point that out because I think that is new from last year. Possibly not, but I knew, so I'm going to blame it on the rookie mistake if I'm wrong. Eligibility, like I said, I just want to cover a little bit on the academic portion and the attendance portion. I will tell you that what I like to call the all day or no play rule is probably the one that I get the most amount of phone calls on day to day. So I want to make sure that I cover that with all of you. But the first part is the academic requirement. So to be considered a full-time student, you need to take 5 courses. And what is new, although it sounds like it was piloted last year, and I might be wrong on that, is that now you need to be passing all of your classes. So you cannot have enough or an incomplete at all. Okay, so you want to be aware of that. At mid-quarter, so at 4.5 weeks, I'm going to do a grade check, right? And I'm going to make sure the coaches know if there are any students that have a failing grade, you're going to get 10 days to bring that grade back up. You can still compete, you can still practice during those 10 days, but if after those, and those are school days we're talking about, not the weekends, right? After those 2 weeks of school, if that grade isn't to a passing, then you'll be ineligible for the rest of the quarter, right? So that's very important that you all know that. Right? And again, it goes back to what Coach Angan said about taking care of business in the classroom. Your coaches are there to help you. I'm here to help you. So if there's ever a time where you're struggling, come and talk to me and we'll make sure that we get things taken care of for you. Right? Student athlete, students comes first. Right? So we want to make sure that we're taking care of that, right? That's why we're here, right? So at the end of the quarter, there'll also be a grade check. And again, if you are not passing all of your classes at that point, you would be ineligible from competition, meaning you can still practice, but there will be 15 school days where you'll need to get that grade back up. So into second quarter, you need to then be passing all of your classes, and there'll be a grade check sheet that I will hand out to each student that you can pick up, take it to all your teachers, you'll get it signed, bring it back to me, and then you will be eligible again once you are passing those. Hopefully you never have to get to the point where you're even worried about this. Right? But it is something that comes up quite a bit, and a lot of times parents and students will have questions about that. So those are the academic requirements in order to be eligible to participate in co-curriculars. Right? As I alluded to before, the all-day or no-play rule, what I get more questions about than anything. Right? You need to be in school all day if you are going to practice or compete. Right? So there are exceptions to that. Medical appointments are fine. Right? A lot of times they're going to ask if you can get a note from the doctor. The doctor's offices are well aware of why this is done. And sometimes it's not just for co-curriculars, but it's also for attendants to be able to do the correct coding, right? So that it doesn't count against your DPI days, which I'm probably being way too specific. But sometimes that's why they'll ask for those doctor's notes. Right? Those will be excused. Funerals, any school field trip, right? Those are all going to be things you don't need to ask, and you're still able to practice and play if you're in a field trip for your class. But AP testing in the spring, that will come up quite a bit. Those are all okay. What the rule is meant for is, I'm gonna sleep in. I was too tired to go the first hour. Can I still practice tonight? Then the answer, or compete. The answer is going to be no. Right? And sometimes I will get this question from parents, well, even if I'm excusing my child, and the answer is still no. Right? So you need to be in school all day. Right? So again, like I said, that is the one that comes up all the time. Right? Can my son or daughter participate if he or she had to miss for this? Right? If you still have questions, certainly you can always call. But I just thought I'd try to at least explain that one so that you were aware of it. So those are the eligibility rules in the code. As I mentioned, not going to read the code to you, right? And sit and go through the thou shalt nots. I'll lose you all in a moment, right? But I still want you to know that, that I'm not trying to downplay the importance of these. And I want you to be well aware that now these are categories. There are 3 types of categories of violations, right? And then the penalty is based on the severity within each of those categories, right? So I would suggest, again, sometimes, like I told you before, you don't look at this and that's happening to you. Hopefully that will never be the case, right? But you want to refer to the code, and that code is always, it's online. You need to take a look at that. But I'm going to flip to next screen. I found these in the code. There are 2 appendixes that I thought were actually quite helpful, right? And I don't know if these are the most visible on these screens. But one of the appendices is going to talk about, they will go through the different types and the consequences for each. So it's kind of a little handy tool for you to be able to use instead of reading through 6 or 7 pages of text. All right, so that might be a quick look if you need to take a look at that. And then also, let me see, it looks like it's covering on some of this, but the other one is a chart that goes through how many games in a season, and if I have to miss 20%, how many contests will that be? So a nice little chart, because in our code, we do round up. And if it's 4.1, that means you missed 5 competitions. Okay, so this will be the chart that you can look to. Again, hopefully you never have to, but if it is something that does come up, it's an easy, quick look up to find out, this is what my suspension penalty will be. So I wanted to point those out to you. There is now, as a part of the restorative justice practice in the code, community service hours, which you can do in order to get your penalty reduced. Right? That needs to be separate from any other things that you're a part of, meaning that if you're in NHS and you're already doing volunteer hours and at the blood drive, you can't also use that as community service if you have a code violation. So it does need to be separate from those. Someone did ask me earlier, And again, hopefully this is never the case, but if there's community service hours as part of the legal system, would that double with those? And in that case, yes. But you know, we can ask those questions and they know the word to arise. So that's the community service hours, and if you look at that chart, the community service hours piece will be on board. And then any offense that involves drugs or alcohol, there will be an AODA assessment that needs to take place. So all students will be required to do that in order to become eligible again, right? And I know broken record, but hopefully we'll never have to worry about those things throughout your high school career, right? Moving on. Investigations, right? This one comes up a lot. You know, I get phone calls. You know, why did you call my kid down to the end? Why are you picking on my kid, right? I just want you to know, I am not out to get any students, right? I want you to know that first and foremost. That's really not why any of us are doing these jobs. We like the fun stuff, but occasionally we will have some people reporting things to us, and we have to investigate. So it is my job to investigate any accusation that comes up. And trust me, the last couple of years, I'll go down a few, I found out that revenge coding seems to be, the new thing. Maybe it just was at Nina High School. I'm not sure, right? But, we're friends one week, all of a sudden I'm not friends with you this week. Oh, here, I'm going to send you some pictures, Mr. Werner, from an anonymous Gmail account. Check out what this kid was doing 3 months ago, right? Back when we were friends, right? So, trust me, I cannot tell you how many of those that I get, right? So, it's one of those things where your son or daughter might not have had anything to do with anything, but if there is an accusation, I do need to call them down and we do need to talk about it, right? I will always follow it up with a phone call to the parents. Just so you know, I had so-and-so in my office, here's what we talked about. Most of the time is, I didn't find any credibility to it, no problem, we're good to go, right? But I do need to do that, and I want everyone to be aware of the fact that if it does come up, that is why I need to call them down, and that's why I need to have those conversations, right? I can't code off of hearsay, and I know sometimes this comes up a lot. I saw so-and-so violating the code, right? I called down so-and-so to my office. Nope, I didn't do it, right? Then it's he said, she said. I cannot issue a code off of that unless there's visual proof. And I know to a lot of people, they'll come away from it, so-and-so didn't get any penalty, and I know that he or she was doing something really wrong, right? That Werner is an idiot. I mean, he can't figure out his job, that he or she got away with it, right? Maybe that is the case sometimes. I'm not ignorant enough to think that sometimes doesn't happen. But again, I cannot issue a code based only off of hearsay. So I hope that makes sense. And again, I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to be, cruel-hearted by saying something like that. But that's just the way it is. Also, the code of conduct is not a legal document, right? Meaning that it's not subject to interpretation in a court of law, right? That this is something that the school district puts out. So these decisions by the administration are going to be final, right? I can just cite this example from at a different school that I was at. I did get a call from an attorney. I think your code of conduct is vague, and it wouldn't stand up. And I said, "Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry, but this isn't a court of law, and it doesn't really mean it." Right? So. These are the extreme folks. I'm not saying this kind of stuff happens every day, but it has come up, right? And it's something I do want you to be aware of, so that if it ever does happen, simply ask questions. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone and walk you through any questions that you might have based off of that. But again, just so that you know how investigations work. Here are those frequently asked questions about the activities office. Already went through all the year no place, so I can skip that. Paperwork, you've been inundated with this. The biggest thing is the physical and alternate year program, right? This, liability-wise, trust me, we don't like to, be the person to say, sorry, you can't participate on the first day of practice. But you can just imagine, safety is our #1 concern, right? If we don't have a physical on file, something happens, you can't imagine how awful we would all feel, right? If your son or daughter got hurt and we didn't have that physical on file to be able to know, there was a condition. So that's why we have to be so strict on it, and yes, that's why we will hold you out of practice if we don't have that on file. WIA is strange. They have all of the strange rules, right? But one of them is, I've never, in taken my time, understood why they have the March 31st to April 1st. That is how they consider their year in terms of when physicals are good for them. So that's why, especially for spring athlete, it comes up a lot. And if you ever have questions, just call up our office. Hey, is our physical still good this year? You know, we had physical in this month, and we can let you know. But they are good for 2 years, and it's from March 31st to April 1st of the following year. So it can get confusing. Again, call us at any time, and we can walk you through that process. Forms and fees, the rest of the forms and fees, and I know Hamilton, I love this, that they put it all on one, that's wonderful. The rest of those we are going to need, before your first meet or event, right? We will hold you off if we don't have that fee or the rest of the paperwork taken care of. We won't allow you to practice at all unless we have that physical or alternate year on file. So again, questions on that, feel free to call me at any time. This is where that player's health handout came in last year. I know that OSI went to a paperless copy. We still have on the website, which I'm trying to get changed, we still have a PDF of the old paper emergency card. And we'd like to move away from that. So that's why I wanted to get you all that. If you have not done this already, we'd love you to go online and be able to do that. That way, coaches, Cassie can have immediate access to those emergency cards, and especially to the coaches that are on the road. That's really important to be able to just pull that up on their phones in case anything were to happen, and they have that right at their fingertips to be able to aid your child and help your child as quickly as possible if something were to happen at an event. All right, so that's why we're asking that we do that. If you have any questions on that, I hope, Cassie, it's okay that I direct that to you. And this was from last year. Remember, Cassie got premiered with the tumors, Cassie now. So you want to make note of that if you can try to contact her. All right. Lots of calls often, most of the time in the spring, but hey, did you know that it's supposed to rain this afternoon? Most of the time, trust me, I'll be watching the weather like crazy. Most of the ADs, especially in our conference, like to wait. The general rule of ADs is we wait till around 2 o'clock to make any decisions. All right, so I've just tried to ask that you wait until after 2 o'clock to call if you do have questions about whether or not an event is going to be postponed or canceled. But I will always update what we call the R School system. There is a website that you can go on. You can get alerts, and if you'd like, go on www.foxvalleyassociation.org, then you can click on Hamilton North, and you can sign up to get these reminders. Right? So if I were to postpone the baseball game, if you are signed up, you will get an immediate alert that this game has been postponed. If not, again, call the office, or you can just go on the calendar, and that same thing, it'll be updated on the calendar as well. But generally, we try to wait sometimes until the last minute, because as you all know, weather in Wisconsin can be strange. It can be horrible. All of a sudden, the sun comes out, and it's gorgeous. So we try to hold off as much as we possibly can. Procedures for talking to a coach. Again, doesn't happen every day, but sometimes there will be some people that want to have some conversations about coaches. Right? I will always refer to the handbook. Right? If you're going to call me and want to talk about tactical decision making of our coaches or playing time, that is off the table. Right? We're not going to discuss that at all. We will also not discuss. I will not discuss with you comparing your son or daughter to another athlete. Not going to be discussed. Right? Yeah, no, I'm not trying to sound mean, but it's just something that is absolutely off the table, and I will not discuss it. Right? And I will always ask this question if you call me. Has your son or daughter spoken to the coach yet? If the answer to that question is no, then I'm going to say, then we can have a conversation later, because your son or daughter needs to talk to the coach first. Right? So there is a protocol that needs to be followed. This will probably, the coaches will go through these at all the parent meetings. You'll be well aware. I have a copy of all the team expectations, so I will know what the coaches have said to you. I try to get to as many of the parent meetings as possible so that I can hear that message as well. Right? If there's something that goes beyond that, and an issue that just cannot be resolved, then by all means call me, and we will make sure that we get that taken care of. If it has to set up a meeting, we'll set up a meeting. Then we'll make sure that we, I want you to know that, anything that you bring to my attention, I know is important to you, so I'm going to address it, right? But making sure that it's done in the proper way and according to the proper protocol, right? So that's that. WI rules. Too many crazy ones to even talk about, but I'll just bring up one that sometimes comes up. You cannot have a photo of your son or daughter being represented as an Appleton North athlete in any ad or publication, otherwise they lose their eligibility. Right? This has come up quite a bit, so you need to be careful about that kind of stuff. Any questions you have that you might even be remotely, I'm not sure if this is going to, I'd rather have you call me and answer. I might not know the answer all the time, but I will talk to the WIA and will get you an answer. Right? By the way, senior pictures, they are allowed to be able to show pictures of the students in their uniforms as part of the advertising for Carlson Photography or whatever. So that's okay. You will not have any of your eligibility. That's not a concern at all. But, you know, if you're going into an ad for a restaurant, sometimes, oh, it'd be really cool if you had your basketball uniform on and we took a picture of you, eating at our restaurant. That's a no-no, right? So like I said, any of that kind of stuff that comes up, talk to me. But WIA, I don't know if any of you have ever dealt with them, but they can get a little cranky if you call them. They always will direct you to your school AD first. So to save you some screaming on the phone, call me and I will make sure that I get your question answered. And like I said, if I don't know, I will find out from the WIA and I will get you an answer. All right? So that is that. We'll move on. The social media piece. You know, in terms of my 4 years so far as AD, I would say well over 75% of every code violation has some way stemmed from social media, right? You gotta love it, but at the same time, it can be a curse, right? And again, remember what I talked about with that revenge code. Comes up quite a bit. So I know that these, and I really stole these things off the internet, they're not mine. And I've noticed that they're also in the hallways at Appleton North. But I really have always liked to think before you post. Right? You just really want to, before you send that, whatever it is that you're going to send, you just want, how is this going to affect my teammates? How, do I really want to represent myself and my team in this way? You just take that pause before you hit the send or enter or whatever it is that you're going to hit. You just want to be careful. And I'm telling you, this is especially for the students. This is where you're going to get yourself into the most amount of trouble. Trust me. Is the social media stuff, right? Images, I know whatever it is, they disagree. Nothing ever disagrees. There's some way, somehow, the images, and you can get to them somehow. And again, depending on if anyone's family, a lot of times it will get shared with the AD. So please, please, please. Just some more things on the internet. I always just like to say, before you post anything, go through this series of questions. What am I going to say? Is it going to hurt someone? Am I going to be proud of it? And especially for athletes, how many horror stories have you heard about the people that lose their scholarships over the tweets they send out? Right? From what I've been reading, right, the college and the universities are watching, and they will go on your social media sites, right, if they're recruiting an athlete. So you really, really want to be careful about that. And of course, what if grammar sound? So just something to consider before you post it. School culture. When I interviewed for this position, and in talking to a lot of them, and I was able to talk to the students in, I think it was May, I was invited by Mr. Heckle, so thank you, Mr. Heckle, again for inviting me to his meeting. Talk to the students a little bit, I said, well, first of all, what are we proud of? And trust me, there was way more things that the students and the coaches were proud of than the things that we needed to work on. And Appleton North, believe me, I've been in other schools. This school is the envy of a lot of other places, and for a lot of great reasons. We have tremendous students, we have tremendous coaches, right? But one of the things that I've heard that we could improve upon is the school culture. And I know that's going to be a big part of Mr. Penberg's message to the staff and to the students this year. We want to bring some pride back, especially to our events. I've been told, you know what, administration takes some fun out of going to games, right? And I can understand that. Maybe I'm a little strange, but I kind of like the banter that goes on between the student sections. I think it's kind of fun, if it's kept appropriate. So I was supposed to, I'm going to give you some rope, right? But I'm going to count on you to handle that and handle that responsibility. So what I'd like to do, and I did form yet another club, and I'd like to get a group of students together. I want to form a council that we can talk about these things, talk about the themes. How can we have fun? I want to make our events a destination. I would like to see everyone, and again, maybe I'm preaching to the choir because you guys, it's more maybe this is a speech for the entire student body, but I want to get people at our events watching you do your thing, right? This is where you guys shine. This is your arena. This is your stage, right? And we're really proud of what you do. So I want to get as many people out there, hopefully get some other teams out supporting their fellow student athletes out there, or going to the, it's football night at the play. Let's go support our classes. How can we support each other? So that's going to be something that I want to work on quite a bit. So I wanted to at least let you know that that's going to be a focus of mine. But I do want to make our games and our events fun, right? And I want to get as many people and students there as possible. So be prepared for that this year, right? My final thoughts. First off, huge shout out, and I'm going to bring Jay Trainer up here in just a little bit, but I've been able to come to be at a couple of the Booster Club events, the golf outing, and to a couple meetings. What an amazing Booster Club we have here. I mean, talk about a group that supports our student athletes. They are incredible. And can we get a round of applause for our Booster Club? And all that they do is going to support our students. So we really do, I want to say how much I appreciate the work of our Booster Club. They are amazing. Also, this is a shameless plug, right? And I know I'm old and have lots of great highlights in my hair, but I did start an After North Activities Twitter account, and it's mainly for this. It's not so you can follow some old weird guy, right? It's mostly so I can give shout outs to our students, right? I like to take a lot of pictures at our events, post those. I love to give score updates. And I have found, for the people that do follow me, they're like, oh good, I didn't have to wait until the next day to see it in the paper, right? And I'm going to be bugging our coaches. I've already had meetings with all of our coaches. I said, I'm going to ask you, what was the score of tonight's game if you're away, so I can get that tweeted out so people that can know how the other teams did, right? And I'll always ask you, do you have any pictures? And I'd love to post those and get as many shout outs to our students as possible. Like I said, this is the part of my job that I love the most. Getting a chance to see you guys do your thing, right? So I want to be able to celebrate that. So, telling you, go out, follow at Hamilton North Activities on Twitter, and then I can get that information out to you, and hopefully be able to plug a lot of our stuff that we have here at Hamilton North for a year. All right? Promise I would give a few plugs for our first 3 football games are before the school year starts, so and 2 of them are away games. But we want to try to get hopefully as many fans as possible out to our away games. First one's on the 18th at DC Evers. We'd love to see as many people out there as possible. If you got enough interest, we can even take a look at the fan bus. We'll see. Whatever we can do to get people out there would be wonderful. So we want to have a great showing, and we play on the 25th at home against Nina. You got to win that one, man. I need Ray. Right? So that's it. It's all no pressure. Right? So anyway, but again, these games before school sometimes that before we really hit the ground running, attendance we want to see out. So I just want to say that parking lot. I don't really know that I really need to give an update because you just lived it coming here tonight. But just a quick drawing. There is going to be a new way to enter and exit off of Double J. You will get this at registration. Also, it will be sent out to the families, right, Mr. Penn? Right? But as you'll notice, off of JJ, you'll only be able to enter one way and exit one way. Right? And the parking lots, there will be fewer entrances into the parking lots. So as you can see, the construction out there, like I said, we probably already run into this already, but just so you're aware of that. And Double J is not going to be completed before until September 1. So you really want to be aware of that, especially with events, especially that 8:25 football game that we're going to win. Right? So be prepared. You want to arrive early at those events because the parking will be an issue because of the limited entrances. Right? Going back a little bit. Okay, so at this point, I wanted to bring out the African North Booster Club President, Mr. Jay Trainer, to say a few words.
everybody. I wanted to come and just speak real briefly, and I've just been here for a while, so I'll make this short and sweet. I wanted to let you know who we are. The Appleton North Booster Club, what we are put together for is to make facilities improvements and equipment improvements for our student athletes. So everything we do is based around the athletic program. During our time, since the inception of the Booster Club, we've donated over $1 million. Some of these improvements, you'll see it at the football field. The new football field, we donated $100,000 towards that effort. The softball cages are being redone right now. There's new concrete in there. We've partnered with outside organizations to work on swim blocks. We put in swim blocks, I believe that was last year. A few years ago, we were involved with the baseball field, donating $40,000 towards that effort for improvements and new batting cages. That's all for the kids, and that's all for the athletic programs. The way we raise our money, we do it in two ways. We have three main fundraising events. Nate was kind enough to join us this year at the golf outing. We do that every summer. That raises roughly $20,000 every year for that. We also have the Artisan Fair, which is more of a craft show. That is in the fall. That's $30,000 roughly that we generate from that. And then the other way we raise money from the events is concessions. So the football games, baseball games, basically any athletic program, we try and have concessions there because that generates a lot of revenue for these improvements. The other way that we raise money is through membership. If you remember nothing else that I say tonight, I would encourage you to become a member. And how you do that is there's 5 different levels of membership, ranging from $25 up to $500, which is a lifetime membership. You can do that. There is a sign-up table outside, which you may have seen on your way in. The other way you can do that is by going to the Appleton North Booster Club, clicking on membership. You can do it online, it's right there. So that's really all I need to say, and I hope that we see some great numbers this year, and I'd like to see everyone involved with membership. If we can get that to happen, that'd be fantastic. So thank you for your time.
We have here at Appleton North. I already showed you that. Can't tell you how much I appreciate again you coming out tonight and giving me your attention for the code meeting. Like I said before, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I just really want you to get involved as much as possible, you guys. Do something that fuels your passion, and let us know what we can do to make your experience here at Appleton North as wonderful as possible. Going back to these, real quick before I lose you guys. We will have more pens out there. Right, but there'll be some baskets, so you can just throw these in there, and then I will get them entered, and I know you will fulfill your code requirement for the year. Again, I really appreciate that. Other than that, if you have questions, feel free to email me at any time. I'm also on our website if you don't remember my email address, but again, questions, contact me if you need. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Have a wonderful evening.